Madam Speaker, I thank you. Let me begin by appreciating Senator Haniri for always bringing in things that requires us to rethink about where we came from and where we are going. Madam Speaker, the government policy in terms of culture, and I'm going to read it to you, is that it says that the government shall promote culture as a centerpiece and driving force behind human, social, and economic development, and shall encourage cultural pluralism. The government shall take appropriate measures for the protection, conservation, and preservation of tangible and intangible national heritage situated within its boundaries. Madam Speaker, in this country, everything is good on paper, but when it comes to the practical, it becomes a very big challenge. Modernization is a big challenge. Free trade, talking about democracy, and the need for good governance. These are some of the things that have eroded the need for us to really value our culture. I'm very grateful for Senator Haniri for re-emphasizing and also giving credit that the Maasai Nation has fully protected the Maasai Mara Game Reserve, and that is why Narok County today receives over 3 billion shillings a year because of the protection of that cultural heritage. I think it now behooves us as leaders in this House to be able to think beyond. And when we are trying to consume the text of the statement brought by Senator Haniri, we need to think about our diversity and the need for us to be respected for our views. Madam Speaker, culture is very important. I grew up in a place called Olompokishi, and I was trained by my grandfather to be able to pass on the cultural heritage to the future generation. So when we come here, instead of trying to force others to be able to believe in what you want, or it's either your way or the highway, I think it will be imperative for us to appreciate our diversity, because that is what helps us. We speak our own mind, and it is wrong for you to be actually pointed out and thought that you're speaking on behalf of somebody else. When you speak, and it is your culture that has given you, that ability to be able to express yourself. Senator Haniri, it is this House. It started with the British colonial masters who introduced pieces of legislations that have completely alienated our cultures, that have completely, guaranteed that it is only the West and their cultural practices that will continue speaking. That's why I'm very grateful, and I thank you, Madam Speaker, that even today, you started this by speaking in Swahili. This is something which we are closer to. And I thank the other speaker, Mwaura, for trying to encourage us to speak Swahili. I mean, I'll butcher the language, but I keep trying to be able to speak it. So, this need for us to be able to balance our diversity is what is making us move away from our culture. I want to echo the words of my brother, Senator Mutula Kilonzo, when he points out that we are completely missing the point. Instead of looking at the economic viability of our cultural heritage, we are trying to modernize everything. It will not help. I've lived in so many countries, and in the US, every state is proud of their old cultural heritage. And this is why I strongly believe that when we are having this conversation of coming up with a new constitution, it is about time now we move that issue of that policy, because I've seen it's a function of national government. In fact, it says ancient and historical monument of national importance. That is a function of national government. These are one of the functions that I want to encourage county governors to be able to engage with the national government and now take them back for them to be able to develop them. Tourists will not just be coming to Kenya to visit Maasai Land. But if other counties don't want to, we will continue. And we want, at least when we're having this national conversation on how we want this country to go, not to forget where we've come from. As a matter of fact, Madam Speaker, I always say I have one foot in the modern culture and one foot in the traditional culture. And the traditional culture is the one which is stronger because it's the one that tells me that I am my brother's keeper, that I am my sister's keeper. And that is why some of us are a little bit controversial in our sentiments when we talk about what we want, the change we want for this country. We want a change that will recognize that today, because of this modernization, we the Maasais have agreed we will no longer circumcise our girls. But we must be respected as a culture because that is what has brought me here. Madam Speaker, if you tell me to think or walk like a Kamba, I don't know, And I don't expect Mutula to think and walk like a Maasai. Sometimes he'll be speaking, he'll be throwing his hands and saying things, but I should respect him because he's from Cumberland. So when I stand there and I say no, before you accuse me of being a messenger, first of all, find out where do I come from and how was I trained when I was growing up, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is about time that now we need to relook at our legislations and ensure that the pieces of legislation that we have are ones that will respect our culture. As a matter of fact, I want to state it here categorically, that as from the next sitting, I, Ledama Olekina, will never come here in a suit. I will come here the way I know, the traditional way. What's the point of order?
There is a point of order from Senator Murkomen.
Madam Speaker, as a matter of fact, my friend Senator Ledama Olekina has said that someone has tried to accuse him or to call him a messenger. Madam Speaker, is it in order am I in order to ask Senator Ledama to disclose, Madam Speaker, whoever has called him a messenger, and particularly because that statement was said in the context of the Maasai people. Mr. Speaker, it could easily be interpreted by the people watching out there that the person who called Senator Ledama a messenger was, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, in extension, calling all the Maasai community messengers. Am I in order? Can he clarify?
Senator Olekina, and I hope you are not diverting from the culture.
Madam Speaker, my culture requires me to be able to express myself fully. So I put that out in the context that we must respect divergence of opinions. So that when you rise at any occasion and you speak, I want to go back to what Martin Luther King said, that we should judge people by the content of their characters, but not really looking at the person and saying, oh, who are you? So to clarify, what I said is that let us appreciate each other. I'm grateful that Senator Haniri has reminded us that we have a rich culture, which UNESCO recognizes, and we have to defend it jealously. Madam Speaker, one of the things that maybe you should know, or the Kenyans should know, is that the World Bank is currently trying to remove certain communities from the list of indigenous groups of people. If you now say because of this modernization, and we allow it in this house, for someone out there to come and say, now today, Senator Mbito, you are from Trans Nzoia, you are no longer indigenous. Senator Mutula Kilonzo, you're no longer indigenous. And it's all because of economic reasons. So all these challenges that I'm talking about are things that we need to embrace. And in summary, Madam Speaker, I would hope that the committee that you task this statement by Senator Haniri would think about coming up with a statement and handing it over to the BBI task force so that this issue of cultural heritage, preservation of our cultural heritage, of who we are, so that we can bequeath it to our children, is now given to the county governments so that the county governments can even be able to appreciate the diversity that this modernization has brought in. But when we have one huge national policy on cultural diversity, Madam Speaker, we'll be trying to do things that we can handle. Because I have no clue how the people of Tana River live. If you ask me, I am Maasai. I speak like I speak. When I stand up, I walk. When I sleep, I'm thinking like a Maasai. So our culture is important. So finally, Madam Speaker,
Thank you.
I hope that it is not only the interest, the economic aspect of the culture that we are going to look at when we are thinking about these historical sites or natural heritage, but also how we can be able to relate to one another and respect one another. I thank you, Madam Speaker.